Assalamualaikum and hi to everyone. Thank you for having me for this conference. My name is Nur Anis Binti Shafai, Senior Lecturer from Faculty of Business and Management, University of Technologi Mara, UiTM Perlis. And today I would like to present on the topic of dividend policy of different market segmentation, which is a dynamic panel analysis. For the introduction, dividend policy can be determined by the corporate finance where it is used to make a dividend decision in order to maximize the shareholder wealth by the managers that affect the value of the firm share price itself. So dividend policy also can be determined accordingly to the class of the shareholders, firm shareholders. In particular, dividends illustrate an investor's share of the firm's profit that distributed. So what is the type of the dividend and the importance of dividend policy? So there are three types of dividends policy. The first one is the residual dividend policy, which this policy create greater volatility in the value of the paid dividends. The main concern of this policy was to use earning as a cash flow for capital expenditure, while the remaining earnings generated by the firm were to pay the dividends. The second is the dividend stability policy, which this policy was the most popular among the dividend policy. The firm that aspired to a steady dividend payout for each year was considered under the stable dividend policy, in which the payout did not change despite the volatile of the earning every year. So the last one is the low regular dividend plus extra policy, which is this policy was used by firm with the large but temporary earning. The firm was expected to pay a regular minimum amount of dividends each year and need to pay additional extra dividend if the firm performed better than expected as a bonus dividend. So this policy was a hybrid in which it combined both residual and also the stable dividend policy. Right, but despite the volumes of the study that extract the dividend determinants of dividend policy issue, but it still remains unsolved. While Black 1976 connoted that dividend puzzle as the hardest we look at the dividend picture, the more it seems to like a puzzle with a place that just do not fit together. For the problem statement, there are three issues that need to be considered. So the first one is the empirical gap, which is the numerous empirical study on dividend policy have been conducted in many countries, but however, the application of the dividend policy may be different across the country in terms of microeconomic characteristic, corporate governance, firm-specific different, and legal system. Second issue is the persistent focus on the developed market is another issue that endorses the fuzziness regarding the dividend policy. Abandoning the developing and emerging market also dates a future new outlook. So due to the different of stages of market development, it might reveal unique findings on dividend policy to contradict with the viewpoints in terms of the market segmentation. So this is can be considered as the regional gap. The third issue is Baker and Harvey 2000 say that develop a corporate finance model with the conjunction consistent with the developed countries, and this can cause such a model fails if tested in the emerging market. Second is Segot 2013 stated that the managerial model are developed in the Western world, and due to this condition, it makes the poor in guiding the making business decision when it comes to the application of the institutional framework under the different contexts. So thus, revisiting the established model and consolidate knowledge with regard to the emerging and developed market. So this can be considered as the methodology gap. For the research objective is to identify the key determinants of dividend policy among firms in Singapore, Malaysia, and Saudi Arabia due to the different markets development. So the research question is, do the key determinants of dividend payout in Singapore, Malaysia, and Saudi Arabia affect the dividend policy? Okay, so this is the theoretical framework for this study. So as you can see here, this is the key determinants, where the theory that support for this study is the agency theory, life cycle theory, signaling theory, free cash flow theory, and the pecking order theory. So over here we have 7 variables, which is the profitability, leverage, liquidity, firm size, business risk, free cash flow, and the growth opportunities. And the dependent variable, this is the dividend payout representing the dividend policy. Alright, okay, for the data collection for this study, I use Thomson-Reuters data stream, but for now it already called the Refinitiv Financial Solution. For the firms, I use the listed firm in stock exchange from the Singapore, Malaysia, and Saudi Arabia. I use top 100 listed firm with the higher market capitalization, and the financial institutions are excluded from this study, and any information does not exist is considered as a missing data. So the year is from 2007 until 2060. So the total list firm, which is the top 100 listed firm, after excluded the financial institution and the missing data, for the Singapore, it is consists of 50 listed firm. For Malaysia is 67 listed firm. For Saudi Arabia is 71 listed firm. And I use the panel data study. So this is the model, which is the dynamic panel model. Okay, as you can see here, the dependent variable is a DPR, which is the dividend payout ratio, and followed by the independent variable, which is the 7 independent variables that I mentioned before, but also including the lack of the dividend payout ratio, right? And then followed by profitability, leverage, liquidity, firm size, risk, free cash flow, and a growth opportunity. Panel estimation method, which is the dynamic model. Right, to correct the weaknesses in the static model, I use a generalized method of movement, GMM. Okay, so the first one is GMM difference, Arellano and Bond, 1991, and the second one is the GMM system by Blundell and Bond, 1998. Alright, so for this study, due to the data specification, the dynamic of the model estimation, and the justified by the previous study, the main method of estimation and used as the robustness test is the system GMM. Right, and then the consistency and the robustness of the result from the GMM system is estimate and checked by the 2 diagnostic tests, which is the AR2 and the Houseman test. Alright, for the result and answer for the objective, as you can see here, the key determinants for the 3 countries is the like dividend payout ratio, leverage, and the firm size are significant and important variable to the dividend payout ratio of the 3 different countries. Okay, meanwhile, for the key determinants of the 3 countries, as we can see here for the Singapore, the significant variable are profitability, leverage, firm size, uh, business risk, and the growth opportunities. While for Malaysia, the variable that significance are leverage, firm size, and also business risk. And followed by the Saudi Arabia, the only significant variable are the leverage and the firm size. Okay, right. For the conclusion that I can conclude for the key determinants of the dividend policy for the 3 countries is the Singapore firm show that they have more profit, large firm size, less leverage, business risk, and also the growth opportunity, which it can indicate that these firms are capable to pay more dividend. Meanwhile, for Malaysian firms show to have lower leverage and business risk while having a larger of the firm size, and these characteristic enable the firm to pay out dividend to the shareholder. And lastly, for the Saudi Arabia firms, they are able to pay dividend, more dividend when they are having a less leverage and biggest firm size. For the contribution and implication, so the contribution to the literature review, which is the evidence on the top 100 listed firm, which is, I can say, consider a new source of data, and the listed firm is based on the higher market capitalization were chosen, and the it is the contribution on the key determinants for the 3 different market. Okay, right, and the evidence is from the developing, and the emerging country. So for the policy, it can be suggest that this study can provide information to who are involved in the dividend decision, especially for the shareholder, investor, and so on. Used as also, it can be used as a prediction mechanism firm in dividend payout, guidance for the policy maker to improve the policy in the future. For the future research and recommendation, the first one that I can recommend is expand the research for the other countries in developing, and emerging market. Second is the different effect between the listed firm and between the non-listed firm or the financial institution, right? And then regression technique, for example, we can use Tobit and Provit, and other model is we can use either Pharma and Babia to modify the Littner model. Okay, that's all for my presentation. Thank you for having me. Assalamualaikum.